Hello and welcome to another Source Gaming discussion. Today I'm your host Nantendrex, and joining me is a very special guest, all the way from GameXplain. It's Jon.
Hello! Thank you for having me on here.
No, thank you for coming on here with me. So over the last weekend, me and you both got a chance to go to the Nintendo UK versus London over in Westminster. And I mean, anyone who watched their live stream would have seen both of us on there, in fact. So you know we were there.
Yep, and you may have clobbered me in a sudden death, but we both made it to the end.
We both made it to the end. It was a good show. But I wanted to bring Jon on because we both had a chance to play a whole bunch of games on there, not just Smash. We also got to try out games like Monster Hunter, Overcooked 2, Pokemon Let's Go, and a few others. And so I just wanted to have Jon on to give our thoughts on these games and of the event as a whole. So I figured the obvious one to start with would be some brief impressions of Super Smash Bros.
So obviously you guys at Source Gaming are very Smash orientated, but yeah, this was just such a breath of fresh air to finally play this game, because pretty much everyone at GameXplain has played it apart from me. So I'm just so happy to finally have some hands-on time, and we had so much time with Smash. Like the event lasted maybe like 8 to 10 hours, and most of that time we spent playing Smash with each other.
Oh yeah, we definitely played a good 4 to 5 hours of Smash. I mean, I got to try every character and every stage. That shows how many matches we played, and I think I played about at least 10 to 15 matches as just Pokemon Trainer.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, towards the end before the tournament we were just sort of like practicing our main characters. I kind of went with Ganondorf at the end, which obviously that didn't pay off for me, but I was also juggling Samus and Link, who are both really interesting actually. Like Samus can now charge her special in the air, which changes quite a lot about her. And Link obviously doesn't have his grab anymore. Well, he has the grab, he doesn't have the hook shot anymore. And as a standard grab, his bombs are now remote, which I kept forgetting about. I kept like throwing them and waiting for an explosion. But the radius of the explosion though is like far wider than it is usually. So there's a downside to it and a big upside as well. But I'd say all in all, Link feels far stronger than he did in Smash 4, I think.
Okay. I only tried to link out once, I think, while playing, because someone requested a really random question, whether or not I could chuck a bomb into the air, jump up and blow it up mid-air and hit myself with it. Really, I don't know why I was suggested that, but I did it, and Link can blow himself up like that.
I wonder, like, that could possibly be like an exploit for recovery. So, like, if you're not going to make a jump, you might like do an explosion and get another jump that way, maybe.
Yeah,
so
I'm wondering if it was something you could do in the previous game to get a bit of extra height, and people were wondering now that it's remote whether Link can detonate it mid-air, like while jumping. So, well, he can.
Yeah.
So I played Pokemon Trainer during the Invitational, but I was also considering Inkling and Sonic as my two.
Yeah, you were really good as Sonic, actually. We had, I can't remember who I was, but you were clobbering me as Sonic.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed by how he played in this game. I thought he was, like, his final smash is worse. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because I used it against you, and I didn't even get the kill, and I was really disappointed by that.
Yeah, but, you know, Super Sonic has always kind of been a broken final smash in previous games.
Now it's just been nerfed to heck. Unlike Zelda's final smash is really ridiculous in this game.
Yeah, for sure. It used to be kind of boring, her final smash, whereas now she just sort of encloses you in the Triforce, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like Bayonetta's, where if you're over a certain percentage, then it's an instant kill. But Zelda's also, unlike Bayonetta's, where you have to chase the opponent down and get enough hits on them, Zelda's just sucks anything that's close into it like a black hole.
Right.
And then is an instant kill if you're over 100, which is ridiculous.
Speaking of black hole, there's this really funny moment where we had the black hole item out, And then Suicune, no, it wasn't Suicune, was it Suicune?
No, it was Kyogre.
Oh, the Kyogre, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyogre was like using Hydro Pump and pushing us into the black hole, while the black hole was pushing us into that. So it's just this huge thing where we couldn't do anything because there's just this blast everywhere.
Oh no, that was great, because the black hole just absorbs all of Kyogre's attacks, which none of us were expecting.
Right.
And the game was kind of messing up because the water's shots were just kind of flipping around everywhere within the hole itself.
It was so chaotic, though. And that's one thing about Smash Ultimate, I feel, is when there's 4 characters on screen, and all these visual effects too, like when you punch someone really hard and the screen kind of flashes, and there's items and assist trophies and Pokemon and everything like that. There's a lot going on, and sometimes I kind of lost track of my character every now and then.
Yeah,
but I guess that's just Smash for you, though.
So we all both obviously got to try Inklings and Ridley, the 2 new characters. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on which one of these 2 you preferred, whether you like both of them, whether you disliked any of them. What are your thoughts on Inklings and Ridley?
So, as a Metroid fan, I want to love Ridley, but I didn't really get a good grasp on him. I tried him a couple of times, and I had a few good games with him, but I also had some really bad games with him. And his range is good. Like, his tail was great for aerial attacks, and he's just so violent too, which is just so good for the character. But yeah, I didn't really get a great grasp of Ridley, and maybe there's just a learning curve to that. But on the flip side, though, Inkling, I instantly clicked with. Inkling is just such a great character for newcomers, I'd say, and they have such a wide amount of attacks too, and they feel so true to the character as well. Like when you're spraying another fighter with ink, it just makes sense for Inkling. And it also changes the dynamics of how matches actually play out as well, because the stages get full with ink as well. And when you shoot someone with ink, they become weaker. So there's a lot of strategy going on there too. And yeah, I just think Inkling was just such a great addition to Smash. Whereas Ridley, I'm sure he is, but I've not really found my groove with him yet.
Yeah, I think my thoughts kind of mirror yours. I much preferred playing as the Inklings to Ridley. I thought Inklings were a very intuitive character to get a hold of, and the only thing I kept forgetting to do was refill my ink.
Yeah. Yeah, you refill your ink by, I think it's you hold shield and then... Down, that's right.
Yeah, and I kept forgetting to do that, so I had moments where I was running out of ink and I was like, oh, whoops, I need to charge, otherwise I'm just not going to do any damage.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Pikmin, I guess, like with Olimar, when you run out of Pikmin, you can't really do that many moves.
Yeah.
So it's just another thing to take into account.
But the only other thing with Inklings is they're very light, I noticed. They take knockback really easily, and so that's just something to be careful of, whereas Ridley doesn't. But I found Ridley quite difficult to get proper hits in. He's a bit too slow, and while he's got really good aerial game, I kept just generally missing with any of his attacks.
Yeah, one thing that's quite interesting though is he is slow, but he has quite a few long range attacks. Like his neutral B has far more range than Bowser's neutral B, for instance. So I wonder if maybe there's just a groove to be found with him that we haven't really clicked yet.
Yeah, it might be. Or you just cheese it by doing side B off of the stage.
Yeah. That's a good point, yeah. One of the Nintendo employees kept, when stages don't have gaps between them and you can just sort of...
walk-off stages.
Right, yeah. That can be heavily exploited with Ridley. You can just basically grab them and just swing them off the stage. It's so cheap.
Yeah, and unlike if you do it with Ganondorf or Bowser, where the other one dies, Ridley doesn't.
Yeah.
So he just flies back on. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, any other sort of things about Smash? I'm sure, because I'll probably do another impressions video with some of the people on my channel, and I'm sure you guys might do as well. Now that all of you have got the chance to play it.
For sure.
So,
I mean, there's so much you can say. Like every single character feels somewhat distinctly different to Smash 4. Even the ones that seem similar, like Mega Man, his Leaf Shield is so much better than it was in Smash 4. It's actually useful this time. And Snake doesn't have the mines anymore on his down smash, which I thought were always kind of similar to his C4 in Brawl. So I like that that's been replaced with kind of like Captain Falcon's down smash, where he sort of kicks back and forth. I like that a lot. And that's something I haven't really seen talked about that much. I was kind of surprised to see that was in there.
It got mentioned to me by someone, but I actually got it mixed up. I didn't realise it was the kick. I thought it was that missile launcher, but that's actually his forward smash.
Right. But yeah, Snake feels great. It's awesome to have him back in Smash. And and it's nice to have him in a faster environment, because I wasn't the biggest Brawl fan, and it's just great to see Snake come back into this kind of gameplay style.
Yeah, Snake feels a lot faster this time, and so does Mario. Those two seem to have got a significant speed boost.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
their overall movement.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else. I was disappointed Pichu wasn't playable. I actually wanted to try Pichu out.
Maybe they'll do another demo with Pichu
hopefully.
and Young Link.
As a whole, though, I'm just really impressed with this, and the visuals kind of stood out to me more in person than they did through video.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, a lot of people still worried because it all looks very faded out. But in all the trailers and stuff, the colours are, and they are a bit. But when it's actually in motion, it's not something you notice at all.
Yeah,
and it looks very, very pretty.
One stage that always looked a bit flat in video to me was Wily's Castle. But seeing it in person, there's a lot of differences to the Smash 4 version. Like, the background's kind of in this dark, ominous sort of tones, with floodlights illuminating it. Whereas in Smash 4, it's kind of like static lighting. And lighting's really the huge visual bump here. Like, stages like Peach's Castle and, is it Congo Jungle?
Yeah, that's the Donkey Kong stage.
Right. Those two look so good. Like the bright lighting just makes everything look so fluid and vibrant.
Yeah, no, the melee stages that have been brought up and put in a HD look very nice in this game. I was personally impressed with Spirit Train.
Oh,
That one was very pretty to watch on the Switch. And because I got to play as Link, I got to have Alfonso show up in HD. Glorious HD Alfonso.
That's all you can wish for in life.
But yeah, I think I don't have anything else to say on Smash at the moment, and we've got quite a few other games to talk about. So why don't we go down in the list that I've just listed them out in front of us in this chat?
Sure thing.
So the next game that we got to play was in the media room, and it was Ubisoft's Starlink, which, as many people probably remember from E3, they had announced that Fox McCloud was going to appear in the game with an R-Wing. And while Fox himself wasn't in the demo, the R-Wing was. So we got to try out playing with the R-Wing and playing with some of the original characters that they have in that game.
One thing I was really surprised by was how light the toys were. Because you look at this controller and it looks like a big hunking amount of plastic, but you don't really feel it while playing. And that's quite impressive.
It was a lot smaller than I was expecting it to be. The ship and the characters as well. Like, when you watch the trailer and it shows off the end with the Fox figure and all stuff like that, they looked like... Obviously, I didn't expect them to be amiibo size because it'd be a bit difficult, but they're very tiny. And it's because a really cool feature with them is you plug the character in, and then the ship goes on top, and you can actually see the character in the cockpit of the little ship figure, which I just thought was a really cool little touch. But no, I actually really enjoyed playing this game. I enjoyed flying around a lot in the game, and there's a part of the demo where you're chasing this giant monster, and he tries to run away from you, and you have to fly after him, and I found that just to be really exhilarating, chasing him down with my R-Wing. And the ability to swap between weapons so quickly on the fly when you've got the figures is really nice. There are these ice golems, and I had ice missiles, which obviously were pretty ineffective. So I very quickly took them off, slapped the flamethrower on, and it was very instantaneous. And suddenly I had a really effective weapon, which made the flow of combat really, really quick and nicely paced.
Yeah, it's literally... You literally, like, just... you take the gun attachment, put it onto the R-Wing, and it's right there in the game, like, in a moment. I was actually really impressed with how quick it was. I guess the actual gameplay itself has kind of elements of No Man's Sky in a way, where you can sort of fly through a universe and just sort of land on any planet you want. And that was actually really impressive to see on the Switch. However, I did notice the resolution got a little pixelated while flying through space. And I'm not a huge like resolution frame rate guy. I mean, the frame rate's actually really good in this game. I think it's 60 FPS.
No, it is. Yeah, I spoke to the guy about this because this is something I noticed, and I've never been a resolution guy. Like, I actually didn't get into HD until towards the end of the PS3's life cycle, when a friend of mine wondered why I was playing PlayStation in standard definition. Like, that's how bad bad I was with resolutions, but this, when I first got down onto the planet and was moving around, I began to realise that the weird pixely effect wasn't actually an in-game effect.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is very... And I spoke to the guy about it, and apparently the reason it's so low resolution is because they wanted it to be like a locked 60 FPS. They prioritized the frame rate over the resolution, which I appreciate because the frame rate makes the game feel very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But
it does
take a hit to the resolution, which I don't even think is in HD. Like, I think it's something like 580.
I think it might be one of the lowest. Like, it gets very low. When you're actually flying around on the planet, it doesn't seem so bad. But when you're landing on a planet, it goes very low, and I think it might be one of the lowest I might have seen on Switch so far. But
yeah.
With that said, it wasn't a huge distractor, honestly, because when you're flying down from a planet, you're not really doing a whole lot apart from just flying. You know, you're not. It's not an intense situation. When you're in combat, the image quality is actually pretty good. So if this will actually be detrimental to the game, I don't think so at all. But I was really impressed by it. I mean, I didn't have that many impressions of Starlink beforehand, and I left having a lot of fun with it. And I actually really want to get my hands on it again, because it was a blast playing this.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. It was one of those games I was only really interested in because it had Fox in it, and I was thinking, yeah, if this is like actually turns out to be a good game, maybe I'll pick it up. But after having played it, I'm actually really interested in trying to play more and seeing what else there is to it. And I spoke to the guy, and he told me that you don't need the Toys to Life part of it to play Starlink. Everything that's in the game will automatically be available in the game as like digital code, which I guess you just unlock. So if you have the Toys to Life, you can do the instantaneous swap out, and you can also just have it from the start. But if you don't have the toy, you can just unlock it by playing through the game. The only exception might be the Star Fox stuff. I'm not actually sure about that one.
I was just thinking about how you play this in handheld mode. Like, would you just sort of... I don't know how you do that. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. You don't need the Toys for Life. But I kind of feel like you'd lose something by not having them.
Yeah, I think
that instantaneous attachment of guns just feels so natural. Mm-hmm. And that's how I want to play the game.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely will lose something playing in handheld. However, I reckon the game looks a lot better in handheld because of the lower resolution.
Probably.
I don't think it will lose anything when you jump down to handheld, and as it has a smaller screen, I think everything will... You won't notice how low quality it can look sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean, I played through Wolfenstein 2 quite recently, which also gets very low res, but I still had fun. Because when you're in the midst of having fun and there's chaos going on everywhere, the image quality doesn't really matter that much to you. At least not to me.
Yeah. Nah, it's the same for me. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 can get quite like that at points. Especially if you're playing it on handheld mode, it gets very low resolution.
Right.
But it didn't bother me so much when I was playing through. It was noticeable, but nothing that would ruin the game for me.
Yeah.
And I guess the one other thing I want to say about Starlink before we move on is I do like the customization on this, specifically how ridiculous it can get. Like, I had the R-Wing, and they had a bunch of other ships, and I started taking wings from the other ship and attaching it to my R-Wing, to the point where the left side of my plane had about 3 other wings attached to it, and then a gun, whereas the right side only had 1 wing and a gun, and the ship actually leans to the left because it's too heavy on one side. And it also just looked ridiculous as it flew around. And
this is the kind of game I'd love to play when I was a kid, because there's just so much like experimental stuff and customization you can do. And yeah, that's just so cool that the stuff you put onto your toy just reflects the in-game model so perfectly. And it's so instantaneous too. So yeah, my impressions of Starlink are pretty positive so far, which I'm actually kind of surprised by, because I didn't really have any impression of it beforehand.
Yeah, same. So, alright, we'll move on to the next game, and this was another game that they had in the media room that we got to play, and that was Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And
yes, did you play Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee?
I played Let's Go Pikachu, because when I got there, Let's Go Eevee was not... The TV wasn't on, they turned it off for whatever reason. So only Let's Go Pikachu was available.
I also played Let's Go Pikachu, but Let's Go Eevee was next to me. And I kind of suggested I wanted to play it, but they were like, "Oh no, this one's better. You play this one." So yeah, we both played Pikachu.
Yeah. To be fair, all the demo was Viridian Forest, so Or at least I only played in Viridian Forest. I actually don't know if it.
Oh yeah, we weren't allowed to leave Viridian Forest. I think we could have if we just ignored all of their demands.
If we just ignored them and kept going, yeah.
There's also a special button on the Pokeball Plus that we couldn't press as well.
Yeah. To bring up the start menu, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also got to play this game with the Pokeball Plus and see how that felt. And yeah, Pokemon Let's Go is actually, it looks very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it looks very pretty running around through Viridian Forest. I was trying to remember where everything was from the old days of playing Pokemon. Trying to see where the items were and stuff like that. One of the items was missing. It might just be because it's the demo, but I was like, oh no, this isn't right. There should be like a Great Ball around here somewhere. I know it.
Right. And we also had like 999 Pokeballs, so we couldn't really go wrong.
And a full team of 6 Pokemon, including having both Pikachu and Eevee.
And Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander right at the start of the game. And Meowth.
Yes. But, yeah, we got to do a couple of battles. We got to catch quite a lot of Pokemon and use the berry items along with whatever other Pokeballs we had. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this, apart from how nice it looked, is how easy the game is.
Yeah, I mean, you get experience points after catching, like, your entire party gets experience points whenever you catch a Pokemon. And obviously catching Pokemon is a huge part of Pokemon Go, and I imagine it's going to be in Let's Go as well. Mm-hmm. But we were leveling up like almost every encounter. Like, it was rapid. And then there's trainer battles which you can level up in as well. And the trainers often have lower level Pokemon than they did in the original games. Yeah. So it seems like the trainers are easier and you level up faster. So I don't know how that's going to balance itself out.
It didn't feel very balanced when playing it. My Pikachu, who I used in basically every match except the last one because I was just getting too bored of how easily I was trouncing everybody. Pikachu pretty much one-shotted every single fight he was in.
Oh yeah, and because you don't fight in the Pokemon encounters in wild Pokemon, you're not really. You never really get hit much,
No.
Because obviously when you're catching Pokemon in the original games, you had to sort of fight back against them before throwing a ball, and you don't have that anymore. So when it came to trainer battles, you're just sort of using Thunder Shock, taking them out, and just leaving without a single hit. So it does feel a lot easier, but it still feels good though.
Oh yeah.
And I was surprised how well the motion controls worked too. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's quite as intuitive as Pokemon Go. You just sort of flick at the screen because when you throw the Pokeball Plus, it takes like maybe a second for something to happen on screen. So you'll throw it, and then like a second later, the Pokeball will throw in game. So that didn't necessarily feel that natural, but you do get the hang of it, and there's maybe a bit of learning curve to that, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's the sort of impression I got with the ball as well. I was having a bit of trouble when I first threw it. I felt like I was throwing it naturally, but the ball was just kind of going off in one direction. And it took a few throws before I kind of got the knack of how to position my arm in order to land the Pokeball straight away. But when I started doing that, I caught, I think every single Pokemon I caught on the first try, except for one really random Pidgey that just somehow got out. Everyone else I caught.
Some encounters were trickier than others. I encountered a Butterfree who was like moving around the entire time, and that's not really something that happens in Pokemon Go. Like, they move around sometimes, but most of the time they're just sort of sat in the middle of the screen. But this Butterfree was just going everywhere, and that means you sort of have to aim in different areas, which was actually really fun to do. I missed quite a lot as well doing that though, but I think that's just sort of a learning curve to that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and those kind of encounters were a lot more sort of in-depth than Pokemon Go ever was. And there's definitely a more of a rewarding factor to it too. But when it comes to just like Pidgeys, most of the time, you sort of like lunge the ball forward and then that's it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if they want to try, if their idea behind balancing the game is that, like Pokemon Go, you're going to have to just catch loads of Pokemon stuff, get your CP up. I wonder if they want you to swap out Pokemon more regularly, try and balance, so that your team's level will always be lower, because you'll just be like, when your team gets too overpowered, they expect you to just swap it out for the next 6.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Train them up all at the same time. I mean, you can't guarantee everyone will do that, that's the issue. And I think for it to be intuitive, you'd have to be able to swap out your Pokemon at any time, which might not be possible. You might have to go to a PC and do it. So we're just going to have to see. I think it's going to be fun, and it's definitely a game that I'm still going to get because it's like actually different from regular Pokemon.
Right. And that's kind of thing with the community is they want change, but then they complain when there's actual change.
Yeah. I just want to say, don't write this game off quite yet if you're worried it's going to be too kiddish or whatever, or doesn't look as good as Yokai Watch 4 or something nonsense like that. It's still a fun game, even if it is a bit easy. But we need to see and hear a bit more about the other aspects of the game to figure out how all the mechanics are going to work and where the difficulty is going to come in. Because it may very well spike halfway through, or it may just be a game that encourages trading up, or a game that's all about helping Pokemon Go, the actual mobile game.
Maybe. And the original Gen 1 didn't really have a post-game, so I'm kind of interested to see what they do this time. Because if we just go to a cave and catch Mewtwo and then that's it, then that's a bit lacking. So maybe I hope there's a little bit more to that.
Let us go to Johto. Come on now.
That'd be great.
Right. So the next game then that we got to play was Monster Hunter Generations. Is it just called Generation? Ultimate, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the Switch version of Monster Hunter Double Cross in Japan, which was originally came out on 3DS and then came out on Switch last year, I think.
Right.
It's now being localized and brought over. And I don't know, what's your experience with the Monster Hunter series, John?
Lacking. I played through 3 Ultimate, and actually played Generations on 3DS a little bit, but not much. It was one of those games I played for a couple of hours, and then it went in the backlog, and I never really touched it again.
They still think that's a bit more than me. I have Monster Hunter 3 on both Wii U and 3DS, but I've barely gone anywhere in either of them. And the only time I ever started playing it is because I have friends who are very big into Monster Hunter. And so I was like, alright, I'm going to play with you guys. And they just helped me get through everything in the early games because they had like beaten it and I was like level 1. They had all the proper monster armor and I was just in the beginner's training kit like, yeah, I'm gonna get you.
So, but we played a 4-player co-op match, which is pretty cool. I've actually never played Monster Hunter co-op before. Every single time I've done it on my own. And I think I've been missing something. Like, this is probably the most fun I've had with it. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot better with 4 people. That's why I stopped playing it, because on your own it gets a bit stale, especially because of how long monsters take to die. Like fighting this chicken dinosaur thing that we were fighting in the demo took forever, and he kept knocking us through the loading screen back to the other
that was a bit annoying.
It's always hanging around there. So, but it got good, and when I figured out how to do the really flashy Devil May Cry-esque moves that I could do with my giant sword, the game started to become a lot more interesting for me, because it started. It's all about building up that power meter and then unleashing some really big attack to knock this monster over.
So on 3DS, those attacks were on the touchscreen, but they've mapped them to the D-pad this time.
Yes.
Which, if anything, is actually a bit more accessible.
Yes, it is. You just have to realize you've got to kind of stop moving when you go to press it, because you need your left hand, obviously. You can't be on the analog stick and press one of these buttons unless you're leaning over with your other hand.
Right.
But I think it's played very well. It was a very fun game to play.
Yeah. And it's quite cool to jump from 3DS to Switch as well, because this is obviously the same game as Generations, but to have like a proper second analog stick feels far more natural for me. I was always a little bit clunky on the 3DS, even with the C-stick, it was just never quite natural enough, so this just feels a bit nicer.
Yeah, no, it does. I quite enjoyed playing it. I don't know if it's a game I would pick up ultimately, just because Monster Hunter still isn't really my thing. But I did have a lot of fun playing this game, and I think if you are a fan of Monster Hunter and you haven't played the 3DS version of the game, I would recommend grabbing the Switch one, because it's more of what you like, but in HD.
Exactly.
And on the go.
I think there's a demo in Japan as well, so if you're not... I'm not sure if that's on the UK eShop. I don't think it is.
It probably wouldn't be on the UK one. There might be a demo of Double Cross on the Japanese eShop, though. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, I think there is. So if you're tempted, then check that out. But yeah, it's Monster Hunter. If it's your thing, then you'll probably love this.
Yes. All right. So the next game on our list is Dark Souls, the Switch edition, and obviously Dark Souls is already out on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but for whatever reason was delayed on the Switch, and neither of us can figure out why. But I think you played this game a bit more than I did. I have very little Dark Souls experience, and all I did was run around and beat some giant orc boss
that's all you
for a
need
bit,
to do.
and then I ran off a cliff by mistake.
That sounds like Dark Souls. I mean, I've played a lot of Dark Souls. I maybe 150 hours in the original PS3 version, so I know my way around. And this is a pretty. It's more than competent. It's a really good port. So I tried out Blighttown, which is basically the stress area of Dark Souls, where on PlayStation 3 it would just go down to like 10 frames a second. Whereas on Switch, I don't think it actually drops in frames. It seemed pretty stable from what I could see, which is really impressive actually, because I think the PS4 remaster also fixed that. But it's good to see this isn't just a port of the older version. This is actually the remastered Dark Souls. And with that, the visuals are a little bit nicer. They're still kind of the same, but they're tidied up a bit. But yeah, this is just a great port of Dark Souls, and it's one of those games that's really impressive to have on a portable system. Like, I've had that with a few games where you sort of look down and you're like, oh my god, I'm playing this on a handheld. But yeah, this is Dark Souls through and through, and I have no clue why it was delayed, because this just seems like such a solid build. Yeah,
no, a lot of people thought it might be Blighttown, but as you just said there, that ran perfectly, and so if that's the case, I can't think why it would be, and why we haven't got a release date yet for it, even though it was meant to be summer. Like, we're practically in August now, and we have no idea when this is coming out.
There are people out there who think it was cancelled. That's how bad the communication has been.
And we're just going to get the amiibo and nothing else.
Right.
But no, it's going to be interesting to see when it comes out, because I reckon the Switch version is the one that most people are actually waiting for. I haven't looked at the sales figures, but I don't think the PS4 and Xbox One version made any kind of big splash when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, as a Dark Souls fan, I didn't even really realise that they came out. I mean, I've just been fixated on the Switch version, because that's the interesting one. It's portable Dark Souls, whereas the PS4 version is just like slightly nicer looking Dark Souls.
Alright, so the next game we had down was one that we tried to play, because everyone was telling us it was quite good, and there were just a lot of problems with the demo, which was a bit of a shame. And that was Killer Queen Black. And yeah, we both tried to play it against each other, but for a team-based game when it was just me and you, didn't quite work out that.
Not really. And then, as you said just now, there are problems with the demo, where basically the Joy-Con didn't seem to really respond to our actions.
No.
There was like a 2-second delay to every press, and sometimes it just wouldn't register what you were doing. Like, I was on the ground at one point, and I was trying to jump up, and I just couldn't jump up high enough to get on the platforms. So this was not really a playable build for it.
Yeah, which is a real shame, because the game looks very good. I like the sort of pixel art style. And they explained to us the rules and the concept, and gave us a little demo of how to win on economy mode. And it seemed like it would be really fun when you've got a 4v4 or 3v3 team. But we just, unfortunately, couldn't get that kind of experience from it.
Yeah. Though it was quite cool to have that kind of arcadey vibe, where we're both on different systems, on different screens, and still playing against each other.
Yeah.
That's just something you don't see that often. But, yeah, nice. I wish we could have had a more smooth experience, because Andre, from GameXplain as well, he plays this a lot in a San Francisco bar of his, and he's always raving to me about how good Killer Queen is, and I was so eager to get my hands on it, and I was just so disappointed when we couldn't really play it.
Yeah, well, hopefully if they bring it at their next event, whenever that is, it'll be a little more functional.
Hopefully.
So, the next game on our list is actually one I played, but you didn't, so I'll cover it very quickly, and that was FIFA 19. Which I had a game against Paul Murphy from Switch Player Magazine, and he absolutely trashed me at it. I am not a FIFA player, and I haven't played a FIFA game since the PS2. But I was actually quite impressed with this. I have to admit, with all the horror stories you hear about how EA has put FIFA on Nintendo systems and had it just be really lazy or really cheap or practically unplayable. Like, playing just a match on FIFA 19, yes, it doesn't look as good as the PS4 and Xbox One version, because it's not running in the Frostbite engine, it's running on Unreal Engine 4 on the Switch.
Oh, that's actually quite impressive. I think last year was some in-house engine, so it's kind of cool they've gone to Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah. So the problem with it not being on Frostbite means that the story mode isn't available, which is obviously a bit of a bummer for people who might be interested in that. But as an actual game and playing FIFA, I felt like it looked quite good, and it played very smoothly, and it played basically everything I expect it to have from a FIFA game. Mm-hmm. So there was one really amusing thing, though, amusing thing. The Sony is a sponsor of FIFA, and so the PS4 Pro logo shows up in game on the banners, going through the background through all the advertisements. So you're just playing there on the Switch, and suddenly it will flash PS4 Pro in the background. That
could be like a PlayStation 4 ad. Like someone's on a bus playing the Switch version of FIFA 19. They lean over, see PS4 Pro, and go like, "Yeah, I'm gonna buy myself a PS4."
I spoke to the guy about it who was into FIFA, and he said it's also on the Xbox version. So this is just Sony being very clever with, like,
this is Sony's version of crossplay.
Yeah. But no, FIFA 9. If you're a FIFA fan, FIFA 19 seems a lot better than FIFA 18 did on the Switch. It might not be quite up to where the PS4 and Xbox One version is. It's still missing some features, but as a FIFA game, it plays exactly as you'd want it to.
I hope they have, in FIFA 18 on Switch, you couldn't play with your friends, which was kind of an oversight.
So
hopefully that's it.
Yeah, they very much told me that was the case, that they would be
awesome.
in FIFA 19. It was one of the things that the guy stressed to me.
Good. I mean, that was just baffling, so it's great that that's there.
So, alright, so the last game that we played, which we both played, was Overcooked 2.
There was a lot of fire in our kitchen.
Yes, there was. I hadn't played Overcooked in a very long time, so we started off with a nice warm-up level where we were trying to remember all the controls and what to do, making sushi, and then we jumped straight into a hot air balloon where everything's out on fire. We were trapped. The fire extinguisher was on the other side of the our kitchen. We were trying to make burgers and putting the wrong ingredients everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
I mean, this is the kind of game where you have to communicate with your partner, and I think while we were playing, there was a very loud game of Fortnite going on in the background. So we were always like, "Oh, put the burger on," and you sort of hear these gunshots just sort of going over us, and we couldn't really hear each other. But it was still a lot of fun. I don't know how distinct it is from the first Overcooked. From what I could tell, there may be a few more mechanics, but it still felt like the very similar core game.
No, I got that impression from it as well. From what I played of Overcooked 1, the main difference between this one and that one is that you can now throw food across the room to each other. So if we were trapped and I needed to get something to you, I can just lob it over the counter for you to grab. And while we didn't really take advantage of that thing, that was stressed to us as being actually a new feature. But it was like the only new feature I could actually find in the game.
That's something we could have done a couple of times. I forgot about that feature. There were points where both of us were sort of surrounded by fire, and we probably should have lobbed food to each other there.
It's too stressful. And if we missed it, land on the floor, it could have got dirty.
Exactly, we've got to think of the hygiene.
Yeah. But no, Overcooked 2 was fun to play. If you like the first one, I'm sure you'd like this one. So,
yeah, absolutely.
That was all the games we played. All the other games they had at the event were games that were already out, like Doom, Tropical Freeze, Splatoon 2, Mario Tennis, Pokken. We did want to try Dragon Ball FighterZ, but we ended up not getting a chance to.
Yeah, I did peek at other people playing it though, and it looks really good. I mean, it looks pretty much as good as the other versions look, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's good. I think BlazBlue Cross Battle.
Yeah, Cross Tag Battle.
Yeah, is that the same?
It's Arc System Works.
Yeah, it's the same company. I'm wondering if it's the same frame rate and resolution on the Switch as it was on the PS4.
I think there were a couple of visual compromises, but it's still 60 FPS. It still runs well. But I think Dragon Ball looks better than BlazBlue did. BlazBlue has slightly pixelated visuals, Whereas Dragon Ball, I couldn't really notice any downgrades.
No, that's good. That's good. That's a good sign then, because that's a game a lot of people really wanted for the Switch. And now that it's coming, that's people who decided to wait it out and be loyal for the Nintendo. You've been rewarded. It's coming in September, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, this would basically be the online game for them, I guess.
Launching with Dragon Ball, hooray. Well, which is a shame because Dragon Ball Fighters Online is actually really bad, but regardless. But no, that was all the games we played. But what about the actual event itself? They had loads of tournaments going on the big projector screen with lots of beanbags for people to sit down and watch. If you got a glimpse at the stream at all during the day, you would have seen it. They had Fortnite up there, Paladins up there. They had the game show, which we sat down and watched, where they all pick a random game from like this little buzzer with all the question mark blocks, and they all team up into pairs, and they had to win it. They played Mario Kart and WarioWare and Splatoon 2 and Breath of the Wild all in this show. And then, of course, they ended with the Smash Brothers tournament at the end. So, What do you think of the event as a whole?
Nintendo UK don't do too many events, but I've got to say, this is easily their best one yet. There was just such a great vibe going on, and you can realise you're amongst all these Nintendo fans who just want to play these games and talk to each other and meet up, and they took advantage of that so much. And the one of my favourite parts actually was that random game selector, where they played like WarioWare and things like that. The WarioWare segment was so stressful. Like, it was so fun to watch. And it makes me kind of wish that WarioWare was like an esports game. Like, it has the potential.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if Catherine can be an esports game, why can't WarioWare?
Well, exactly.
So, but no, I think it was very fun how they sorted everything out. I think everything was placed in the right sort of area. They had Smash right at the front, and they obviously knew it was going to be the thing that everyone was after when the queue started going out the door.
Oh yeah, I felt so bad about that because we had our own little room to play Smash in. Where then we walk outside and there's a giant line.
It took me 2 hours to realise that we had that room. I was queuing up at the beginning with everyone else, and then when I went in the media room, I was like, oh, okay.
I'll just spend my time here forever.
But they had all the other Nintendo games, and they had all of the new upcoming third-party games all nicely in a row with plenty of time for people to sit down and play them. And they had other tournaments going on. There was a Mario Tennis tournament that people could register for going on over in the other end. Fortnite tournament as well you could register for. So they had quite a lot of cool little events going on everywhere with cosplayers as well. There was a cosplayer battle on for Smash Brothers, which I think was fan-based. But they also had cosplay of Pearl and Marina for the Splatoon area. And a guy walking around in a big Mario outfit like they always got. And that was cool.
Yeah, there's some great outfits going on there. Though one of the cosplay battles, I don't think one of those guys was wearing cosplay. I think he was wearing a t-shirt. So, not sure if that counts.
Maybe that's the most meta cosplay of all.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I mean that could be anybody.
Cosplaying as a true gamer. But I think Nintendo UK did a very good job of running this event.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Their organisation was really good. There was always something going on as well. Even if you weren't just watching an event, you could just be going around playing a demo, or just sort of chatting to everybody. It's just such a great social event. Yeah, and they cater to everybody so well too.
Yeah, they were handing out. They had free drinks to hand out. You could come and go as you please with a little stamp. There was lots of places to sit down, places to charge your Switch if you needed to. If you needed a charger, they supplied them. You just have to ask. And there was plenty of staff around if you had any questions or anything to ask people.
Speaking of staff, actually, like some events I go to, and the reps there aren't always like that knowledgeable. But in this event, I think everyone knew their stuff. Like I was speaking to the Dark Souls guy, and he knew absolutely everything he was talking about, which is quite rare with demos. So that's awesome.
I think it was the same Dark Souls guy I spoke to, because I had a really nice conversation with one of the guys when I was doing Dark Souls, and he was super into it. And we were talking about loads of things. And the Pokemon guy as well, who had the
I was just about to say, he was
Ghastly, Gengar, and Haunter on his arm.
Right, yeah, these guys are true fans, and that's just amazing to see, because it's sometimes just people who are like hired to run the stations, but these people are like proper fans of these games.
Nah, and that's always a good thing to see. It's always nice to know that you're with fellow fans of these Nintendo games. It makes it feel much more homely and less like some just sort of sterile event that you might be at.
So hopefully they do more of these, because it was just such a great time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one whenever they can host it. I don't know if I think they're going to be doing something at Comic-Con, for sure, but that's obviously not a Nintendo specific event.
Yeah, so they did do something for Comic-Con a few months ago in MCM.
Okay.
They had Mario Tennis there. I think that was in May. They had a little stage demo kind of similar to what they had here, but it was a much smaller scale, which is to be expected because it's not their event. But that was pretty good too. So it seems like Nintendo are kind of stepping up their event game in the UK, which is great for us.
Oh yeah, that's really great for us, especially being close enough to London. I don't mind going in and trying out all these events, especially if they're on a weekend.
Yeah,
it's a good way to spend a Sunday and a Saturday, in my opinion.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think that covers everything we want to talk about, and I've kept you here for looks like 3/4 of an hour. So, thank you very much, Jon, for joining me.
No problem.
Do you want to I'm sure everyone already knows where to find you, but if you want to let them know?
Sure. So, I come from a little channel called GameXplain, where we explain games, and I'm also on Twitter at Jon NomComms, and you can also find our channel Twitter at GameXplain.
So, thank you again for coming on, Jon. Obviously, everyone listening knows where they can find me, because it should be the channel that you're listening to this on, Source Gaming, and on Twitter at Mr. Nintendo. So, let me know what you thought of this discussion. If you're at the event, let me know as well down below. If there's another one, we can all try and meet up with fans and say hello like that. Let me know if you watched our fight as well on the stream. I'm interested to see how many people actually watched us duke it out.
I think there were a few.
Yeah. So, as always, if you look on our left here, you'll see all of our patrons, our lovely, lovely patrons. In particular, our super patron, the Duke of Dorks. There'll also be a link to his channel in the description below. Give that a like, share this with your friends, and always remember to return to the source.